Whenever you are working with strings in JavaScript, it is important to remember that a string is an iterable. In this tutorial, we are going to discuss iterables as they apply to strings. Welcome to another tutorial from All Things JavaScript. As always, make sure to click that bell button and subscribe, and remember to check out the discount links to all my courses in the description section. I really appreciate the support. And if you would like, there are other ways to support the channel, which are linked to in the description as well. And if you're collecting script, since this is my 200th tutorial on YouTube, I'm giving away 200 script to the first 100 people that follow the link in the description. You can learn about script on my website. Also, to see all 200 tutorials, you can go to the website as well. Now, an iterable is an object that allows you to loop over its values. So if we think about this in relation to strings, that a string is an iterable, the first question that comes up is, well, a string is not an object. So how could it possibly be an iterable? Well, strings have what we call an object wrapper. And that object wrapper contains an iterator function that makes it possible to address a string as an iterable. This allows us to cycle through each character in a string and process it in some fashion. So let's look at 3 ways we can do that because strings are iterable. All right, I have a string here. This is a simple string, period. That's the string that I've created. And because strings are iterables, this is one thing we can do with them. We can iterate through them, loop through them using a loop. And I can use the for of loop, which is great for allowing me to access every character in a string. So basically what happens is each of those characters are addressed separately as we iterate through the string. So I'll just log it to the console so we can see that each character comes up. This type of thing here. So let char of the string str, and then we're just going to log that to the console. So if I save that and refresh this and jump to the console, we can see that each individual character is being displayed on the console. So if we need to address characters in some way, we need to do some work on individual characters in a string, or we need to deal with a string by its individual characters, we can do that because a string is an iterable. And that's one way to do it, is with the for of loop that I've shown here. Now, what else is possible because a string is an iterable? Well, we could simply create an array that has each character as an element in that array. And it's easy to set up because the fact that a string is an iterable. We can use the spread operator to do that. Now, I've done a tutorial on a spread operator elsewhere, and I'll link to that in the description in case you want to review that. But here's our array that I'm going to set up. And I'm going to set that equal to an empty array, and then I use the spread operator to spread out the string. And so it causes each individual character to be an individual element in this new array we just created. So let's take a look at that. I'll save that, refresh, and then if I type char array, we can see that is an array of 24 elements. Every element is a character, including the spaces and the period. Okay? Now, one last thing I want to show that is possible because strings are iterable is the fact that we can use an iterator. So I mentioned that strings have an object wrapper, and that object wrapper contains an iterator function, and that iterator function is what makes it an iterable. Well, we can access that iterator function and set up an iterator for us to use. And once again, I've done a tutorial on iterators as well, so I'll link to that. Because if you're very unfamiliar with them, you'll want to review that tutorial to understand what we're talking about here. So I'm going to declare variable here, and set that equal to the string, and then in square brackets I address the symbol .iterator. This is where that function is stored that I was talking about, the function that makes a string an iterator. So if we access that function and then we go ahead and invoke it, it's going to set up an iterator for this string in this variable here. So if I save that, then I can show you what we can do with that. I'm going to go ahead and refresh that. Now, with that variable, I can do something like this. I can use the next method to display the very next character. In this case, the first character in the string. And notice how it comes back. It comes back as an object where the value is the character and the property done indicates whether there's more characters or not. If it were true, it would be finished. Because it's false, it's indicating, well, there's more in there. So I can do another one. And this would be another way to access all the individual characters. In this case, if I just want to display the value, I can do a dot value on the end like that. And then we get the H showing up. And I can continue to do that through all of the characters in the string. So the important concept here is to remember when you're trying to solve a problem with strings, when you're trying to work with strings, remember that in JavaScript, strings are iterable. So there are a couple different ways you can approach working with strings. And if you need to work with them at the character level, this is a great way to do it, some of these methods that I've shown. All right, please hit the like button and subscribe. And remember the discount links to all my courses in the description section. Make sure to click that bell button to be notified about new releases. I try to release a new tutorial each week, and almost every week I do that. And finally, thanks for watching.